listen anymore. Don't watch the show. Who gives a fuck? How's that? How's that? My abacus!
But Lord.
Here it is.
Here's abacus number 4.
Sorry, Gino.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Just Joking, episode 155. I'm your host, Kevin Dombrowski. This is a fun one. We're in the final countdown here, as you can see if you're watching live on the Showbiz Network. I am somehow in an office. Joining me this week, first-time producer, long-time love. We got Andy on. Andy, bring yourself front and center if you can manage it. What's up,
buddy.
pal? How are you?
All right. Just trying to hide the sweat.
For the first time that this series has been on the Showbiz Network, you're wearing sleeves, which, given the pressure you have today, you should have gone with a sleeveless shirt.
Yeah, right. I know you like me without sleeves, Kevin. I apologize.
I like you without everything, if I'm being honest.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I've been getting a lot of love lately, so that's good.
Absolutely. We are live on the Showbiz Network, theshowbiznetwork.com, youtube.com/the Showbiz Network. For those of you listening live, chat along. You can riff with your favorite comics. You can ask questions, send them in. We'll read them on the screen. If you are listening, tune in live every Friday. We got 3 Fridays left. And then we're going to do a mass suicide together. We're going to do a suicide pact to end the show. Everyone on the network at the same time.
Right.
And then we'll live stream it, and then other people will live stream that, and then it'll just go. And that's how we're going to clear the whole scene out.
We'll call it the Jim Jones podcast.
Let's just do it. We're just going to clean house. And then, right, exactly. And then podcasting will, it'll be reborn from there. No, if you are listening now, tune in every Friday on the Showbiz Network. You can do just that. If you're live, check us out, available on demand everywhere after you download podcasts. This episode and the entire series is really brought to you by SilkCityHotSauce.com. Check them out. I'm not going to make Andy. There's a lot of traveling going on the network. There's a lot of wires being crossed. Andy usually illustrates, and he's right now in the hot seat. And I can see the fear in your eyes when I bring up the Silk City hot sauce read. You're like, I don't think I've got the picture. Don't even worry about it. Who gives a fuck? The sauce isn't even available.
All right. And Silk City just hit me up for another label too, so they're putting money in my pocket too.
This is so funny to me. I could not think of a better ending for this show than just the wheels falling off as we're coming to the finish line. It truly is. I've never seen a car break down quite as heavily as we have. All of my shit is actually it's being deleted on the back end of the computer. I was about to
say the same thing. The labels aren't here. Your other opening isn't there. What's going on?
I love it. I love it. It's like Back to the Future. I'm just slowly disappearing.
You're being
from
erased
everything.
from time.
I am being erased. And you know what? I'm enjoying every fucking moment of it. I don't think I've been this happy in quite some time than just being erased from everything. Check out Silk City Hot Sauce. Say again?
Oh, I was just going to say, I love that abacus opening.
It is a good opening. That's
all right.
It's just so you guys, if you're watching live, this is what we've wanted to do. We wanted to present to you.
I may play it 4 or 5 times during the show.
We wanted to present to you a decent opening, not just screenshots of me staring off, but it's not what happened. We have a background for this show, but for some reason we're in an office building. We're just going to keep going with it.
What the hell just happened?
Did you not even notice? Did you?
No.
You didn't notice?
There we go.
We were
set up right before the show. I swear. I don't know what happened.
I don't give a fuck, honestly. I love this. I really do.
Blame me, guys. I'm producing today.
SilkCityHotSauce.com for all your hot sauce needs. Use promo code Just Joking and save 15% on your order. Get an extra bottle of hot sauce and get some stickers. And put those stickers over your tears to dry your eyes. What do we got going on here? All right, so I have a couple guests. Maybe one, maybe none. What do we got? Is one of them here?
You have a guest in studio now.
We have a guest in studio right now. Okay, so
you bring him on?
I'm guessing it's Will. Is it Will?
It is Will, yeah.
All right, let's bring Will on. Ladies and gentlemen, you know my first guest from Netflix, the movie Salesman. He's the Honda guy in the northern New England area. He's the host of the Soft Boys podcast, one of Boston's best. Catch his new special, 50 TikToks at once, streaming on his YouTube May 17th. Mr. Will Noonan is on the show. Will, you there? You're all black, buddy. This is hilarious. This is one of the funniest ways to end a series that was actually decent. Andy, is that on our end or is that him?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
We'll just text nothing is working.
Perfect.
Should we talk about our other guest? Our other guest is supposed to be Dave Landau, who this is truly one of the most remarkable runs of booking and cancelings I've seen in I think ever, if I'm thinking about it. Dave Landau was on a plane and he got called back to the gate. He emailed me saying, "You're gonna kill me." Do you have that picture that I sent you? It was in the email.
Is that the subway one?
No. It's not a subway. That's actually him on an airplane.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah, give me one.
Pull that picture up. Dave Landau emailed me saying, "You're gonna kill me." There he is. Remote from looks like American Airlines. Honestly, that looks like he built that in his apartment. Now that I'm looking at it, it doesn't look like a real plane.
And everybody over 50 seems to be wearing ripped jeans.
Well, that's what happens when you can't afford clothing.
Right.
Is you just your knees just go through your jeans while you play stickball in the streets of Brooklyn. How is anyone over the age of 40 still wearing Converse? That baffles my mind.
Yeah, where would you even find them? Do they sell them still?
I think they sell them, but it's like, how do you walk around in that? I wear New Balances and my knees are still hurting me. So Dave Landau was on an airplane, which is how you say that when you can't afford tickets like me. He was on an airplane and his plane got called back and he said, "You're going to kill me, but they've called us back to the gate. So my flight is delayed and I don't think I'm landing in Tacoma for a while." And I said, "Just join in the air if you can." And he said, "We tried to take off and one of the engines failed. And now they're bringing in a new airplane."
Jeez.
I want to cover this. Okay. I want to cover this. So our string of guests that we've had recently, first off, Dave Landau quit. He said he's got some big announcement going on. He wrote down Saturday instead of Friday. It's probably a month ago. He's got some big announcement. He said, "Wait, let's not reschedule for next week. Let's wait for a little bit. I've got some news and it'll be worth the while to talk about on the show." Okay, great. So we're waiting on that, right? Yeah. So then I believe what happens after that is who was supposed to be on? Maybe it was Dave again the following week, and then Mencia was on. And then we had Eleanor Kerrigan, which was a smooth run right there. Yeah, right? That was a good show. We were supposed to have someone else with Eleanor, but
she almost died, but that's all right.
She did almost die.
She survived.
Sure. And then after that, we had Mike Buschetti, who was scheduled, but he was suddenly on bed rest, so he could not be on.
Right.
Vinny Brand was supposed to be on, but then caught a last-minute flight to Michigan, unbeknownst to him. So then he missed, or it was flip-flop, whatever way. Dave Landau is supposed to be on. Now his flight got delayed. And then Will Noonan is supposed to also be on right now. He said I think I'm good, is what he just texted me. I don't know if he's in there.
He was in the green room and then he left again.
And now Will's computer is catching on fire. I'm starting to think it's me. Is it me?
I don't know. But you've had some great guests over this time, whether they're last minute or not. Right? Think about it. It's a pretty good list.
We have. Look, we've been here about a month and a half. We've punched our ticket, and we're leaving while it's on fire. Because quite frankly, I can't take another email saying my flight was delayed. They're building a new airplane in front of me. Let's bring up that picture, Dave.
We got Will back. Let's
bring in Will.
We got him here.
I'm also on an airplane.
First off, I want to say on record here. You're one of my favorite comedians. You know that. You're one of my favorite people in comedy. You also know that. We have phone conversations. We have conversations about life. We're real people outside of this. I've mostly brought you on just for the look of comfort in your face to calm me down. The familiarity of Will Noonan right now is the anxiety medication I need. Let's just leave that up for now, Andy. This is one of the greatest shows ever. You've been on the show, the good version of the show. Let's call it that. You've been on the good version of the show a couple times before, and it's been good episodes. We've had some fun. We've had some laughs. I'm ending the series this month, and I wanted to get you back on one more time. But if this beginning of the episode isn't an answer of why I'm ending the show, I will never be able to explain this with words.
Is it just because I can't get onto this or anything like that, or like is my I'm like 4 inches from the router?
Imagine if that's what that was. I was like, Will can't get on. Let's just end the entire fucking series.
That's it. If I can't do it, there's no way you're gonna get Sebastian Maniscalco, the greatest comedian in the country.
Dave Landau's on a plane right now. Landau is on a plane, and he emailed me. Look at this picture. Look at this picture. He emailed me that picture of proof that he's on an airplane right now. I don't believe him.
Isn't that great? That's the world Landau gets to see every day, is just those ripped jeans and those Converse. He's like, every time he looks down, he's like, am I Kurt Cobain? I'm like, David Landau.
Let's hope so. I love Landau.
Oh, that's Kish. That was Kish.
Yeah, it's Kish, baby. Richie Kish.
Nice to be with you, Richard.
He's the only one, by the way. We're streaming to one person. Flat Cat Will is the best.
I love my flat cat. I still have you can see I just moved into a new place. You can see all my decor behind me here.
Mm-hmm.
And but I still in my kitchen, I have a painting hung up of my dog that Flat Cat did for me. And it made the move. This is a second. So, I also have some nudes.
Is that what YouTube specials do now? You're moving on up? Yeah,
buddy. YouTube, it started off with the scouts. They come and scout you for months. They the guy, Ethan Klein, Mr. Beast. They're just in the crowd. You're like, are those guys from YouTube to check me out? And then you get a call from Mr. YouTube himself, and he's like, I've been thinking about you. How would you do your special for nothing? That's not Holly, baby.
Flat Cat, Will Noonan, the real Boston Billy. Oh God, that's true. I'm sure you've heard of of the drama of your predecessor in Boston having someone removed from the Comedy Cellar.
I actually didn't hear about this. Can you enlighten me?
I can, yes. It was the day after the Patrice O'Neal benefit, and I believe everyone was hanging out at the Comedy Cellar, and one Anthony Cumia went to I guess, make peace with Bill Burr. They've had apparently a back and forth going on for quite some time. And I guess Club Soda Kenny had Anthony removed as Bill Burr's security and kicked him out of the cellar. And then fizzles throughout the podcast community of everyone's take on that. I know Opie had a take. I know Norton talked about it.
Opie had a take? I did not know about that. I guess I can't. I don't know, man. I can't comment. I will say this: all of these guys are getting old and cranky, and I'm seeing it left and right. Because I'm getting old myself. I'm 40.
Sure.
And now I look at the guys that were heroes my whole life. They're getting into their 60s. It's Cranktown, USA. Like, I'm seeing it everywhere I go. These guys. It's the same thing's happening in Boston. You know, it takes less to anger people. Great. Comedic geniuses are not immune to post-COVID mental health issues and crankiness. You know,
just say Gino Visconti. Just say it.
I know. I mean, I said it. But, I mean, Anthony is a genius and Burr is a genius, and both of those guys, you know, I could see. I'm even starting to think that at a certain age, you need to be angry with someone the same way like a fish needs water. You just need it to keep going, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I hear it a lot.
That anger, it speeds up the blood flow in the body.
Fuck.
I think Will's blood flow just went down.
Talking and it was just.
I was waiting. I was just going to milk the moment, honestly. I just wanted to see where it would end up.
Milk the moment. That's the name of my special coming out May 17th.
Do you have an Ethernet cable?
I actually do.
Plug it into the router.
I do, but I don't think the laptop that I'm on has an Ethernet outlet.
Guys wearing pants.
I know.
I
wanted to I wanted to use my cell phone, but I couldn't use it first, and that didn't work. So I dusted off the laptop. It wouldn't even let me because the phone doesn't have a microphone. It's a whole thing. Can you hear me okay? Is my audio decent?
You're in and out. You're jumping all around.
It could be your Wi-Fi. You might want to restart. I'm not sure.
Oh boy.
We're losing him, Kevin.
So I'm so excited to talk to the 5th grade class. I'll tell you, up in space, things. Oh, I think I'll get some water. There it
is. This should be a whole segment, as we should just watch Will do something through spotty Wi-Fi.
Yeah. This should be taught in class.
I was out having lunch with people, and I was like, guys, I gotta go on. I have an important broadcast to be on, and look at me here.
Sure. And then you walk to the back of the coffee house where you live now?
Exactly.
Someone said he's on raised Wi-Fi. All right. Well, let's get into some stories. You'll be in and out. What are you holding?
I'm holding the router. That's it. This is my router.
Keep it up there. Keep it right there.
Did I come in clear?
You are actually clear.
Okay.
Much better.
It's fucking hilarious.
Can
I
just keep it right there? Now tell me about the special, Will. Keep the router by your face and tell me about your special.
Our special, I should say, because this little guy here helped out a lot. May 17th on YouTube. A guy the other day said to me, You should have gone with Netflix. I was like, you're right. Next time I will go with Netflix. Went with YouTube this time. Comes out May 17th. It's called 50 TikToks at Once. You know, most people nowadays, they like to consume comedy 1 minute at a time or 2 minutes at a time. To that, I say, great. But what about putting all those minutes back to back in a row and just watching them all at once? You know, 60.
Revolutionary.
Mm-hmm. So that's what it's all about. It's you know, it's a culmination of years of dick jokes and chicken tenders and driving through the woods.
You and I have been on the phone many a time while you're driving up somewhere and almost dying.
Yeah, you caught me like I was on the phone with you during one of the weirdest road moments of my whole life.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Kevin on the phone, and like I see this guy about to drive into me. And I'm like, hold on, Kevin, this guy's about to drive into me. And I look over and there's no one in the car. It's just an empty car coming down the highway with 4 airbags deployed. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I look up the highway and there's a guy chasing it. He's like 50 yards away. He must have gotten in like a fender bender, gotten out of his car, left it in drive. And I like, all while I'm having a conversation, which was very Kevin heavy. Kevin was like, you know, just venting to me on the phone. And I'm like, hey, just let me almost die for a second here, Kev. And then I got out of the way of a moving car. And then like a second later, I tell Kevin the story. He's like, man, that is crazy. That is nuts. Anyway, Kevin Brennan is such an asshole.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I think I was venting about a fight I had with my wife.
We got him. People be fighting.
People be fighting. That was
acting up.
That was one of the first times I ever saw an apartment drive down the street. If you're Gino.
Sorry, what?
I said that. Fuck it.
I'll say it again. Say it again.
Let's get to some stories. Let's do what this show does. Will Noonan, you've been on the show before. Here's what we do. Got a couple headlines. Going to read them to you just to talk shit. No interviews, no arguments, just jokes. Let's go to our first one here. This is great. This is King Charles has finally had his coronation. It was somewhere that looks like the lawn of Buckingham Palace.
It's not,
where is it?
It's one of the other. You know how they have like a dozen palaces?
Yes, I do.
It's one of those. I got excited too. I was like, oh man, like look at this fucking dick on Buckingham Palace. You know what I mean? And then it turned out to be like 100 miles away. It's some other palace. He hasn't been there in 5 years, but it still is a royal palace.
It's a royal palace and it's a royal penis. That is, who do you think this was? Do you think they've got a Scotsman as a landscaper?
I was wondering too, because that is, I mean, the balls, you know, it's funny that they went so far left and right, but like being European, they were like, they could, like, if an American made this, they would have just made huge balls. But like a European person is like, the balls still have to be small. We just need them to be well spaced to the left and the right. Because those are your balls like this when you're really frightened. You know, that's like what your balls look like when you're scared.
Sure. Or if you're a sexy European and they're emptied, they're small like that.
Yeah, that's what Prince Edward's balls look like after the Girl Scouts have just left his house.
I think you mean Prince Andrew.
Randy Andy.
Let's I think actually, Andy, I think if you scroll up, Dave Landau has something to say about this. There he is. True master of your craft, Dave Landau, tweeting in his opinions from an airplane right now.
I was gonna say that guy flies, man. That guy fucking flies.
There's I think our next story we have is speaking of Dave Landau. Let's pull that one up, Andy. It looks like Dave Landau is actually turned his career from comedy into a Michelin chef. There he is right there. Michelin
Whoa.
star chef adds semen to the menu at a trendy restaurant. If you look at the original picture that the Post sent, it actually looks scarily like when Landau had a mohawk.
Whose semen are we talking about here? Is this a chef? Is this his own?
I think technically what it is, it's fish semen that he's added. So kind of like caviar. So a little bit of clickbait going on with the New York Post. Or
I can't believe it.
we could all be wrong. He could just be coming in meals and then pushing them out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Fish semen. It's kind of like, it's pre-caviar. It's like, hey, this isn't even alive yet. This is just the semen. You know, if I mean, in a weird way, semen is just. I mean, in a weird way, when you eat beef, you're still eating cow semen. It's just fully grown cow semen.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Do you think Jeffrey Dahmer thought that? He was like, "Man, look at all this semen I'm eating."
Yeah, he's like, I'm not a serial killer. I just love cum.
I just have a type.
Yeah,
what's your problem?
Like, well, I mean, it's true though. Every time you hang out with your father, you're hanging out with your first apartment building.
That's hilarious.
You know, every time. So.
I used to think that we're like all the problems that you have as a child, if you really break it down, they're not really your problems. They're your parents brought you those problems. Like if you ever have an issue with like your school growing up, or your town, or like the friends that you grew up around, those really aren't even your friends. Those are just the people that you got because your parents had sex where they did.
That's so true.
So
I mean, so many things are like that. Religion, like when you think about how much religion can not really my life, but a lot of people, like it dominates their whole life, and they end up in therapy in their 20s and 30s. And I'm like, you were just born into this. You were born into it.
Right.
There's no difference.
Yeah. These aren't even your problems. So get over it.
Yeah. You know, but that's coming from you. You're a father now. So I think I've heard that from my friends who become parents. It's like you realize stuff about your parents that you never realized before, because now you're kind of like, you're in that role. So you're like, they weren't just being dicks for the fun of it. Like they were just trying to keep me alive and stuff like that.
For sure. I mean, plenty of people have that take on like, you know, before you have kids, you see someone yelling at a kid in a store and you're like, God, what an asshole. And then you have kids and you're like, oh my God, that kid's an asshole.
Yeah. You're just like, you gotta do what you gotta do in the moment. But I don't know. I think about that all the time. A lot of stuff is like that with your parents, and you know, even like, but now that I'm married, it's kind of the same thing. My wife tells me who my friends are sometimes. She's like, no, you like this guy. You like him. I'm like, guess I do.
It's a lot of what our phone calls really are. It's just complaining about everything around us.
Yeah, well, I think, and this is like wicked. This is really patting both of us on the dick, but I think we're like pretty normal guys for stand-up comedy, and we like sort of do. I mean, what is normal, right? But we're not complete fucking messes like a lot of our colleagues are. Right. So sometimes when we're like, we have like regular guy issues. Like we're like, my wife's pain in the ass, or like I'm fucking, you know, having car troubles, or like fucking landscaping troubles. We're not like, I've been up for 5 days doing coke, man, and I think I'm bipolar ADHD, but I can't get my meds.
Well, that's the thing is, it's funny when you're, I think it's funny when you're a normal type of dude, but you have an abnormal job. That's how I would describe my life. So like, I've got like, you know, like real life issues that I really want to complain and vent about. But there's no one from reality that's awake or like willing to talk when you have the time to talk. So there's a lot of times where I'll either be driving, because I have a big commute to the city now, longer. So I'll either be driving to the city or driving to some gig, and I know Will's going to some fucking gig thing, where he's like, what did I say? I called you one time to talk about something. I forget what it was, but you were just in the parking lot and you were like half an hour early, and you're like, I was like, yeah, what are you doing? I'm driving to this gig. Have you heard of this? And I was like, what are you doing right now? Because I didn't hear any noise. And you're like, I got to the gig like an hour early. And I'm just sitting in the parking lot instead of going in to talk to the people on the show.
It's true, because I mean, I feel so, this is kind of like what you were saying about kids too. It's like, I sometimes meet young comedians or new comedians, and I'm like, I get it. I get you're excited and you're like here and you want to be talking comedy and you want to be sort of riffing and doing all this stuff. And I do still like to be around that energy sometimes, but there are days where I'm like and I'm like, I cannot do it today. I cannot do that whole conversation that I've had 80 trillion times on both sides, on his side, because I've been that person. You know what I mean? I was a very excited, eager young comedian. I was super excited, to just be any place. And the thing is now, since COVID, there's like so many new people, and some of them are like in their 50s, they're divorced, and it's just a lot of small talk. It's like acting now. Go in, you gotta talk about what you got coming up, what you want to have coming up, who your agent is. It's like a lot of fucking talking, and I'm like, come on, man.
That's why I stopped. I stopped it. Stand-up stinks because guys who've been doing it for 10 years and stink feel like they can teach a very funny open mic. That's true. I had to stop doing the acting thing because I couldn't watch like commercial acting. I couldn't watch the process happen in front of me of someone. You're there because you look like someone that the casting director thought of when they wrote this hemorrhoid commercial, and you're doing vocal warm-ups, and then you guys are like talking about like what bit parts you've had in the back of New Girl on season 2. And you're like, I'm either gonna shoot up this casting agency or I'm gonna fucking kill myself in the audition.
It's dude, and that's the world I kind of came from. I was doing that since I was like a high school kid, and I still do it a lot less. But I've been in a bunch of commercials, and it's from start to finish, because that vibe never ends either. When you're on the set, and it's like, I mean, when you're stand-up comedy is like the perfect show business job. It's like you go in, you get it all out at once, and like it's a few hours, it's a night out. It's like a commercial or acting thing. You spend all day. It's exhausting doing it on camera. It's exhausting off camera.
Right.
It's like everyone is like in a good mood and like super. Oh my god, like all the time, And Danny Brof, love that guy.
$5, loving the show. Good to see Will Noonan on. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you, Danny. I miss Danny.
Dude, that's so fucking true. Did you see? This so speaks to it too. Did you see? There were 2 ESPN. What am I saying? What's the word? Correspondents that were waiting to interview Aaron Judge, and one was like lined up for it, and then the next girl just like cut in front of her, and they start like arguing about their placement while he's like signing, like Make-A-Wish baseballs for people.
Yeah.
And then one shoulders the other one in, and she goes, I was next in line. She was like, and she says something like, no, you're not. And the one ESPN correspondent calls the other one a fucking cunt on camera and just walks away.
I saw this. I mean, it kind of doesn't surprise me a lot. Like, I kind of went 2 ways with it. It's rude to act like that in front of the kids, but it's not rude to act like that in front of Aaron Judge or even as 2 reporters. Like, that's how, that is a competitive job, like getting an interview from an athlete, and they have all kinds of, I have a couple friends who do that sort of work, and they'll spend not just a day, they'll spend weeks trying to get an athlete for a 5-minute, sometimes 2-minute thing. And you like have to do people favors and pay back and all that stuff just to get it. So when I saw that, I was like, I'm not surprised at all. But then I was also like, women they're always like, I got my girls back and it's girl power and we're all a big team. But you put them in competition for anything, and it's like, fuck other women, they're cunts. I'm here. I am the woman.
I love that no showbiz job is immune to the inner workings and like bitterness of it.
Yeah.
Like I love it's so interesting to find your pocket and to find like that thing that makes you feel like a human. And then because it's so easy to get pulled into bullshit. And then you see this somewhere else and it like makes you feel better. It makes you feel like a human when these two people are like they're on camera, they've got their jobs, and she's like, I can't fucking deal with this cunt anymore. And just walks away. It's the best. I love that. I love seeing that.
I've seen some really good things like that in my life, like doing commercials and stuff like that. One of the best things I ever saw shooting a commercial was I shot one once. They had a raccoon in it, and they had this woman was like, she drove up from New Jersey to Massachusetts with these 2 raccoons, in case one of them's not in the mood. They have 2, and she has like her girlfriend and like her son with her. And dude, I mean, someone should do a show about they were the weirdest 3 people you've ever met. I mean, raccoon wranglers, but
sure.
They were acting like they were like in the CIA, like this is so important or whatever. But then the best part was they're just shooting this raccoon like, it's supposed to like stick its head out of a box and like maybe climb out of the box. That's all they really wanted it to do.
Right.
The raccoon was just like, fuck you. I'm lightly tranquilized. I just want to sit here and do nothing. So the raccoon like wasn't moving. And I just watched this. I'm kind of in the shot. So it's like me and the raccoon are the only people on camera. and I'm looking at and so anyway, the raccoon wrangler comes over and she picks up the raccoon like by the scruff of the neck and she holds it in front of her and she looks at the raccoon. She goes, "Don't you fucking do this to me, you fucking asshole." And I was like, show business. I was like, welcome to the biz, raccoon.
Your manager comes up to you afterwards and grabs you by the hair. Don't you fucking do this to me.
Yeah.
Gino Bisconti, $20.
Look at that. Noonan. Look at that. That's like, I don't think I've paid $20 to have someone suck it, but I've never had someone else pay $20 to say suck it.
You know what I love about that is that he put suck it into quotes, so it was him saying it.
Absolutely. And also that $20 is a little bit of a flex, That's like when a comic gets sick and does a GoFundMe. If you have like a decent career, you have to do at least 100. Anything less than 100, you're a piece of shit. And everyone's scrolling down that GoFundMe going like, that dude only got 50. He only put 50. He headlined fucking Cap City last weekend. I know he's got the dough.
But then you see like a big name do like 3,500 and you're like, nah, they're just trying to seem cool.
Oh, that's like, it's got to be great, right? To be like, I don't know, like Bill Burr or something. You can like put 4,000 and just be like, that's my 50.
It does actually flex like the scale of what you think is expendable.
And the anonymous, some of those anonymouses are like dope, and they're so above it. Like those people who write anonymous. I really admire those people. I would never be one of those people. I need a little bit of credit for donating to charity. I don't want, I don't need like a blowjob, but I need like a little bit of like, yeah, he did it.
A little bit of credit.
I always thought that's why they liked me at the stand, because it was like when COVID hit and they had like a GoFundMe for the waiters of the stand. I like threw $100 down like within seconds, because I was like, I was pretty much crazy at that time and just thinking I could buy my way into like comedy again or something. Like I was just insane. But I did that, and then I remember like Italia and everyone. They're like, "God, thanks. That was really nice of you." You know what I mean? And I was like, "There you go." Like, I did it because I wanted to do it, but it actually people remembered it too,
Yeah.
which is what you really want when you donate to charity. What you really want is a little bit of credit, a little bit of
Sure.
credit.
I love that credit. That's like your industry credit, really. Is you've seen them donate $20, $100 to the stand waiters.
Yeah, it's pretty much, dude. They're like, this guy
Yeah. You know your next comic,
has
most
a
known
credit
for
card.
for donating $100 to out of work waiters. Give it up for Boston's best. What a flex.
You should see me when I'm there and someone's like, "Hey, excuse me." I'm like, yeah, excuse me. All right, I bought that shirt.
I own this stool.
Yeah, come on, buddy.
You should have sent your avails in the notes of the donation.
Yeah. Or like I just write like, "Don't forget about this. Remember."
See you when we open. Did you see, have you been watching any of the playoffs? NBA?
NBA? Yeah.
You are? Yeah. Boston, I don't know, man. Boston's struggling against Philly. It's not looking good.
Yeah. You think so? I think Joel Embiid coming back hurt is like the best thing to ever happen to us. It's
Well,
like,
okay, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. So you guys did get the split.
yeah.
I was forgetting about that.
I think it's like all right, so here's the thing. As a Celtics fan, or as a fan of any sport, any team really, I hate it when the team has a great year. This has happened to the Celtics before. Great year, everyone's got great chemistry. They've made the playoffs, and then superstar player who's been out hurt is feeling better, comes back. Now, whether that player plays well or not, the chemistry is going to be all wrong, and everything that got you there kind of has to change. You know what I mean? So
Right.
if I were a Philly fan, it would drive me crazy. I'd be like, let's go with the healthy guys that have got us here.
Yeah.
And not worry about this, because it happened to the Celtics with like Kyrie Irving and stuff. Like we make it to the playoffs without Kyrie, then he wants to play. Now we're running the offense through a guy who hasn't been around for a month. So when I saw Philly doing that, I was like, great. I love it when a team does that, because now they're like behind their own 8 ball, and we can just exploit that, I think, for a few games. But
yeah, I felt like that when LeBron got hurt, because my favorite team is LeBron James, and so wherever he goes,
that's funny.
I will follow that. I've been a LeBron fan for decades now. Anyone that really honestly knows me, I could fucking go off on every team he's ever been on and crazy stats and all this shit. But when he got hurt this last time at the trade deadline, the Lakers basically reset their whole roster.
Yeah.
And they were fucking firing on all cylinders. Best record in the West since the trade deadline. And they were like, and now let's bring back 38-year-old LeBron. And even I was like, come on.
I know.
Just like bring him back like the first round or something.
It drives me crazy. And I also kind of understand. I mean, how are you going to tell LeBron to not come back, you know, or anybody? But I've seen it happens with it happened with the Boston Red Sox a few times. It's like, and I get why these guys want to fight to come back to play in the playoffs, and in their mind, you know, in their athlete mind, they're like, this can only help, you know, I can only help my team. But yeah, it always drives me crazy. But yeah, that's what I thought. I go, if I were a Philly fan, I'd be bummed in a weird way, even though he's the MVP, you know. But who knows how it's gonna play out. The NBA is fucking weird now, dude. It's like trying to, I mean, even gambling on it or whatever, you're like, so many random things could happen, and the refs can make such a big difference. And you don't even know who's like, they're so weird about minutes now. I feel like if the Celtics get like, you know, if they get a 2-game lead, they start resting people. It's like, no, we're not resting anyone. It's the playoffs, you know?
Did you see any of the Knicks Cavaliers is a great series. Wait, who are they playing now? No, because they beat the Cavs. Knicks are playing Miami. Knicks are playing Miami. And this is what was hilarious to me is it was the first game at the Garden in the second round in like a decade, and they're going to a commercial break. and they show just like stock footage of New York. Andy, pull this up. That's the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is why New York can't be in the playoffs, is because this is exactly what happens. They're showing stock footage of New York City going to commercial break, and in the back is just the Twin Towers just dominating the bottom of the screen. If that's not one of the funniest fucking cutaways, I mean, it was actually.
Like,
what were you gonna say?
They said never forget, and this guy obviously forgot. He was like,
Right.
he's like, hey, let's put a couple of those. Hey, don't forget those big buildings downtown.
Yeah, that looks like some nice scenery. We should put that in.
I haven't seen those in a while. What's going on?
They're like, where's our production assistant from? I don't know, Canada? Somewhere in Toronto. He said it looks nice.
You know what's weird to even, this is kind of a nerd perspective on it, but I'm surprised the film quality even lined up with like HD modern sort of film quality. You know what I mean? Like,
are you implying that the towers were an inside job?
I'm sorry. I think they're still there. That's what I'm implying. They accidentally forgot to turn on the, Illuminati filter when they were filming.
That's all it is. The beams just hide the actual towers now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Obama's still running the country from, in there in the invisible Twin Towers.
Did you see there was like a similar incident with the WWE where there was like some like vignette of like all these like big matches coming up, and they were showing this like gritty scenery to hype up like the, ooh, everyone's so edgy and badass. And then in one of the gritty scenes was just Auschwitz. It was just a picture of a concentration camp.
It's like,
And then someone caught it, and then they cut it out for the next run. But it was like notably absent.
That's pretty great. It's like, oh man, we're so badass here in Auschwitz.
The Undertaker. Jimmy I, $5.50. Did Keanu loan you the $20, Gino? That's true. Did you see this? I don't know, Andy, if you've got that pulled up. The article it's from the New York Post. Women forced by American Airlines to change at gate. We could call an audible here. So two of our peers apparently have been all over the news. Chrissy Mayer and one Keanu C. Thompson, who is
the most famous Keanu.
The most famous Keanu, Gino Visconti's stepdaughter, for anyone that's unaware, was forced to change at the gates. I think leaving Vegas, going to Texas, because they were wearing revealing clothing. And so they wouldn't let them on the flight. And so they made them change. But instead of going to the bathroom, they made them change in front of everyone at the flight, apparently.
Well, wait a minute. Chrissy?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, boy. Well, they better protect the fucking... Where did this happen? In Vegas?
In Vegas.
They better protect the Vegas Capitol for a while if you piss off Chrissy Mayer.
Frank Pellegrino is going to be taking down American Airlines from the inside out.
Yeah, I mean, they let pedophile celebrities fly every day. Why won't they let the... I think that's pretty crazy. That doesn't surprise me, though. I think air travel is the most expensive human degradation that we pay for in our life. It's like the second you buy the ticket, you're like, it's like, yes, master, until the second you're off the plane, and they can just do whatever they want to you. This is awful, though, in a way that this happened, but I'm sure they did not mind the press that they got for it at all.
Yeah, it got picked up by like the Daily Mail or something like that, one of those rag sites, and then it just got tossed all the way around, and then it ended up being on the New York Post. This is hilarious. This is, how like in all these like podcast feuds and inner workings, they all accuse each other of like all this like fucking crazy nonsense of like, I think this person's really this. I think Dave Landau was actually Will Noonan.
Yeah.
It's like this whole fucking, all these conspiracy theories.
The reason why we couldn't both be on the show at the same time.
Right. Yeah. I bet you that someone is thinking that like there's an inside job going on at American Airlines. Like Chrissy and her boyfriend Frank have like actually infiltrated American Airlines, and they set the whole thing up. And
Yeah.
there's the it's the grassy knoll at Gate 5.
They need to start doing airlines the same way they do news networks, where there's like a Fox American Airlines and then there's like an MSNBC American Airlines, and they won't give Chrissy a hard time like that. But I honestly think she probably has a huge lawsuit.
Oh, that's interesting.
Huge case. Yeah, I mean, that if I were her or Gino's stepdaughter, I'd be thinking I won a huge lottery. You know what I mean? Less so if I was Gina's stepdaughter. I'd be like, in some ways I lost in life, in some ways I've won. But I think getting hassled by American Airlines and then getting media for it, cha-ching, like that's at least a $25,000 settlement, maybe more.
Sure. That's an interesting angle. I didn't think about the lawsuit. I just thought of it like when they're going on stage. You've seen this next comic featured in the New York Post. Like that's an in right there. There was a dude in New York that Airbnb'd his apartment, and people ended up having an orgy in it. And he came home and he caught them, and it got picked up by like every news net, like everything. He was on CNN, he was on Fox News, like all this crazy shit, right? And then that was his credit. He had a credit list of everywhere that story got picked up. And you had to basically like go through all of them. It was like you've seen this guy on all over these news outlets, and it seemed like he was like a big deal. And then you looked it up, and it was just because 5 people had sex with each other.
Yeah, there was a guy up here who did that. His like house got broken into, and then he used that as like a credit. I've seen this guy in the 6 o'clock news talking about his house getting broken into. Yeah. That's fucking, also I don't understand what the problem is. If you're renting it, can't you do whatever the fuck you want with it? Like,
right.
I would assume people are having an orgy with my rented Airbnb, like, or something. What's the difference between 2 people having sex in your bed or 5 people having sex in your bed?
That's true, especially when your Wi-Fi doesn't, it works like yours. There's nothing to do but have sex with each other at your place.
Did it start to fuck off again?
No, you're good. You're good. Speaking of the NBA playoffs here, Howard Stern is actually coming out of his man cave before he does his show. He was sitting courtside at the Knicks game recently. And I guess on his show, he said that he wants the black players on the Knicks to acknowledge him.
Wow. Why just the black players? There's a lot of great European players in the league now.
Well, I think he's going on. I think this feels like a bit of this is a throwback Stern. This is from the 90s.
This is like vintage Stern here. Even acknowledging different races is like not really his MO nowadays. So
right. To go off and say, I've got John Stockton. John Stockton actually threw me an assist, thinking I was the center of the New York Knicks, Robin. And then, and he's like, but no black players talk to me. It's kind of fun. Like I miss this Stern. I miss this version.
I do too. I mean, it's so funny you brought this up, because I've been watching like old Stern lately on YouTube just randomly. I like watched one. You know how YouTube is, like, saw one day, and now it's like it's recommending them to me all the time, and I'm like, man, this show was so good. Like, it's so much better than even podcasting. Like, you go, oh, this is like, podcasting kind of came from this, or is like a part of this. And you just go, but it was the beauty of the Howard Stern show was really the team. It was like Robin and Howard and Gary and like all that crap, like all their like little beefs and stuff that they had, all the time. But I think this thing with the player, I think what really sucks. Who's got bad Wi-Fi now?
Sorry, I didn't mean for you to see my performance disappointment.
I think Howard Stern I bet what he's really sad about is how uncool he is now. I bet there was a time where he went and sat at a Knicks game when he sat courtside. It was like every player was talking to him the whole game. Like everyone, anytime they were near Howard, they probably said what up, and he probably felt so fucking awesome, like I'm a king New Yorker. And now he's like so less relevant, not making any like news. He's a corny reality show host now, You think a
How do you really feel?
You think a cool 22-year-old NBA player wants to be like, "Hey Howard, I love America's Got Talent, man. It's so good."
Yeah, they just know him from that.
Yeah,
What's Simon Cowell like in real life, Howard?
Yeah, it's like it's I think that's the thing that is kind of happening there. He wants it both ways. He wants to be America's kind of like sweetheart celebrity, but he also wants like cool people to think he's cool.
Right.
It's like, can't do it, man. But that movie Private Parts still is one of those weird. Like, I can't believe that movie ended up being so good. It's still good if you watch it. Private Parts.
It is still good. It definitely holds up.
Yeah.
What if when he said this, right? It was such a throwback. What if when he goes, "I want black players to acknowledge me," Robin was like, "What?" And what if she just gets up and walks off the show? What if she finally? It's been so long since he's done this. She offends him. He offends her, and then she walks.
First time in 40 years, Robin, it takes any sort of stand in any way.
Howard,
I'm out of here. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, when you think about it, he used to be so controversial for having lesbians on all the time. And then Ellen DeGeneres became the biggest celebrity in America. And what, ham toss, you said?
No, it was anal ring toss.
Anal ring toss. That was some good shit.
That was good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture that they used of Stern there, he was sitting next to Alec Baldwin, which is also just a hilarious placement. I don't know if it was new. Alec Baldwin just seems to not give a fuck post charges getting dropped. It's like when when a rapper gets acquitted of a murder charge, he just walks around with his gun in the air.
The redemption tour. I think maybe out of all the people on earth, no one wanted to kill someone and get away with it more than Alec Baldwin. So it's kind of like he's like a sadomasochist who just got out of the greatest BDSM session he's ever had.
Did you see this picture? This is great. I love this. They're filming Rust again. They've reopened production.
Imagine.
And on set, he's holding a gun backwards, pointing it at them. It doesn't feel like this. Feels like when the serial killer wants to get caught. It's not a safety precaution. He's just taunting people. Oh, ooh, look, I'm doing it safely.
The new rule is for takes 1 and 2, Alec points the gun at himself.
It's like the Russian roulette of filming.
If we get through 1 and 2 without him shooting himself, we can turn the gun back around. It's so show business to me that they were like, listen, people died. It was horrible press.
Right.
But we have to finish this cowboy movie. So so we can make some of our money back. And it's I can't imagine like going to put on the costume again and stuff like that after shooting somebody.
It's like coming out of retirement. Putting your old jersey on. It still fits.
As someone married to a woman younger than me, I would never allow us to be photographed in this weird pose. Our age gap is nowhere near theirs, but even I would be like, this is so creepy and weird for you.
Well, this is when charges got dropped. They each shared pictures of each other, like embracing each other. And it just comes across. I think they wanted it to be like we've been there for each other. I love this person, but it just comes off more victim-y.
Oh yeah.
Than anything. It's like, honestly, I thought it was very, look, I'm not I don't want to make fun of anyone that goes through trouble having kids, but like when Chrissy Teigen had a miscarriage and then they tweeted pictures of like her and John Legend like holding it, or like it was like this bizarre black and white photo shoot in the room.
I remember it well. I remember
it's so like, dude, it's so bizarre to me where you're like,
dude,
you're like, is this a part of showbiz? Like, is this a part of it?
How about the people who are even less famous who are like, just watched, Succession, and they take a photo of themselves crying or something? I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? Like, who
keeps splashing water?
Well, I was gonna say, well, it's just like crying to me is like, okay, if I'm crying, like I am in another place. Like I've really let my emotions out. I don't understand how you can be in one way so emotionally vulnerable that you're crying, and in another way, like get my camera, get the camera. This is good for content. So it's like, how can you be in both of those places at the same time? It's really sort of weird to me.
It's like when you're growing up and your parents piss you off and you're angry and you start crying, but then you like look you like catch yourself in the mirror or something, and you just keep going.
Crying. Yeah. That is true. You're like, so this is what I look like when I'm crying.
Yeah. These people are all insane.
I think that's all super weird. The Baldwins there, they just look relieved. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're not going to go to jail, or probably even face financial consequences, because that would have been the real thing. Right. I don't think he was ever going to go to jail, but if he was found guilty of like wrongful death or whatever, but I still can't believe that happened at all. Like as someone, I've worked with like fake firearms a couple of times, and it's like they treat them like bombs that are ready to go off any second. Like it's like everything is checked like a trillion, zillion, million times to the point that it feels completely over the top. So like the fact that this all went through is like, it's unbelievable to me. Even in like, I'm talking in like bullshit off-Broadway plays and stuff.
Right.
They'd like treat these guns like
Broadway plays. They're bringing a loaded gun onto an off-Broadway play.
I did all that stuff, man. I did like horrible plays, like, and I invited my parents to come see them and everything, and they're speaking of orgies and shit. I did this one play where a guy, I had like one part, but the guy who like wrote it also starred in it, and he was like this fat guy, and he wrote himself like a threesome that's like it's like in the fucking play,
That's like when Tarantino wrote that scene for him to drink a beer off of Selma Hayek's foot that she spilled down her shin and From Dusk Till Dawn. You're like, there's no one else that could have played this role, huh?
Yeah, he just happened to have to do that, and somehow got that in. That was probably like how they got him to do it. He was like, I'm a director, not an actor. And they were like, well, we got this one scene. Like,
I'll do the whole movie.
I need 30 takes of that, though.
I would have liked to see. I think everyone should do a photo shoot like this when they get acquitted of something. Like, I would have liked to see OJ hugging the new waitress that he was banging after he got acquitted of Nicole's death. Just every type of thing like that.
It would be cool if you could be honest. Like, if you could really, if like the law, if once you were found not guilty of something, that's that. Like, you can be, no one can hold anything against you. So it'd be great if like OJ walks out of court and he's like, I did do it, you fucking idiots.
It's like that scene from Liar Liar when he farts and they come out of the elevator and goes, it was me.
Yeah. So it'd be great if Alec Baldwin could just be like, oh God, thank God, I could not go to prison.
As soon as they say not guilty, he just collapses. Oh, I've been holding that in for so long. I did it. I knew what I was doing. Speaking of people that know, this guy, it does not get more insane than Kanye West. He's been out of the news for quite some time.
Yeah.
But this is like, this is the Donald Trump news cycle. Is when you don't hear anything for like a week, you go, oh, he's been, he's gone. It feels like it's been 2 years because you're so used to hearing stuff about him constantly. This guy's hilarious. So Kanye West, he fired Nick Fuentes, apparently, as his campaign manager for his 2024 presidential bid, and then hires Milo, who is It's like Nick Fuentes. If Nick Fuentes just walked out in the street and said, "I'm a Nazi."
Oh yeah, I know. I heard an interesting statistic yesterday on like another podcast about it was talking about censorship, and it was like there's a statistic out there that like colleges in the past 4 or 5 years have canceled like 75% of their speaking engagements. Like the students have, so the college will book a speaker and the students will protest and they'll shut it down before it happens, right? At the bottom of the article, they're like, if you take out Milo Yiannopoulos, it's really only about 10%. So it's like it's him. It's like this guy is getting booked at colleges and then getting canceled before he can do his appearance, and then he goes on a bunch of shows going like, "You believe this happened to me?" And then like the cycle continues over and over.
I don't understand a college that would book him.
I don't understand how it works. I think it's something like, a student can just say, book this guy.
Got it.
And then they were like, okay, you filled out the application and then, or whatever. But I saw a picture of Kanye the other day, dude. He looks like a straight up like schizophrenic person on the street. Like his beard. Beard is crazy now, which basically he is. I think he's got like cocaine brain mixed with like his own real mental health problems.
Oh, this is a person that if he weren't famous, everyone would be walking away from him when they saw him walk up on the street. This is a person. This is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Of like, this is why reporters are calling each other cunts on air. This is the pressure of showbiz, and this is being in the spotlight. And everyone getting views off of each other. Everyone's getting clicks off of each other. Look, it's a fucking, I say it until I'm blue in the face. I saw someone in the chat say that they thought I quit the show. I am quitting this show because this is what it is. This is just, everything is just regurgitating. It's one show talks about this show, talks about this show. Everything's views and drama and all that fucking crazy nonsense. And then you have Kanye, who's going through an actual schizophrenic mental spiral. And we're like, we heard you're running for president. Who's your campaign leader? And he's like, well, I did have a guy that's kind of a neo-Nazi, but he was too quiet for me. So now I have a guy who's kind of a Nazi and a self-hating gay man. And you're like, you're like, where's TMZ? I want to talk to him. But if he
it's true though. I think you're right too about. You're right about I mean, look at that. Oh man. I mean, that's like you're on the train and you're just trying to get to your gig, and some guy's coming up to you like, hey, can you lend me $20 for a flat tire or something like you know what I mean? Like
100% with the mouth guard in. You're like, this guy's gonna fuck me up if I don't have any money.
He's got like the hospital bracelet on.
You can definitely rate someone's life by the hospital bracelet around their wrist.
Like, well, first thing you're noticing is like, why don't you just take it off, person? You know what I mean? Like, remember how many, like, you'd always remember the girl in high school who would like keep the hospital bracelet on like for like 6 weeks after the suicide attempt, just to let everyone know that she's dramatic.
Did you not hear about it? I want attention.
Yeah. Hello. Cry for help over here.
She's making her two bracelets talk like a face.
This one from the psych ward, and this one from the hospital.
That's the problem. We're never going to stop hearing about Kanye because of the dropout. That's why we're never going to stop hearing about him, because he made incredible music. So they will. You know what he is, honestly? Do you ever see that one movie? I think it's Jamie Foxx, and then I don't know who the other. It's not Tom Cruise. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. Where Jamie,
the violinist.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what Kanye is right now. He's under a bridge.
Yeah.
He's producing music, and someone's going, this guy was a genius. and they're like, I got to get him back into genius. And then he's like, Hitler wasn't bad. And you're like, maybe I should put him back under the bridge.
Yeah, you actually nailed it. He's kind of going through the same thing that other guy, the Bobby Fischer, the chess master guy.
Mhm.
It's like apparently peak insanity is when you start hating the Jews. it's like that's when you really know you've crossed over into full like batshit crazy, that you're I don't know, just a thing that happens. But yeah, I think you're right. It's he is that guy. But he's also a genius too. So it's like that. This is kind of sad, but remember that wrestler China? You know,
Yes.
I remember. I mean, this is a way lower quality of money, but I remember when she was on her way down, like she was doing stand-up comedy like shows, and I remember like a few stand-ups I had kind of like attached themselves to her, and I was like, they're just riding this train like to the end, you know. They're just riding, like she is on a downward spiral, and they're just trying to grab a few bucks and a few like get a little fame on the way out, you know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, I love that the bottom of the barrel in show business on your way out to a money grab is stand up.
Yeah, like
that's our top shelf.
It's below pro wrestling.
Our top shelf. All we want is just to make decent stand-up money.
Yeah.
And then as people fall, it's the last rock you hold on to before you completely fall off the cliff.
It is true. It's like our dream is the thing that other people's agents like throw at their clients as like a last ditch effort.
I got a weekend in Poughkeepsie if you want it.
So like you tell like I'm trying to like you tell a guy from like, you know, NCIS or something like, listen, I don't have anything for you this summer, but what about a small stand-up tour? You know,
intimate.
You'll tell
get
some
back
stories.
in touch with your fans.
Yeah, meet the fans. Tell some stories from your. You love to tell stories, Tad. You know, and he's just like, God, I told you I wanted to work with Spielberg. You know,
right? Did you ever? I really like him. He's a super nice guy, but I think he knows he's not a stand-up. Did you ever work with Chris Kattan?
I never have worked with him, but I have heard the same thing from other people.
Right. And that's the thing is I was talking to someone about this earlier is it's a lot of old SNL alums that aren't originally stand-ups.
Yeah.
Will do the stand-up thing and
make
they'll
money.
just like, they'll make money. They'll draw, they'll tell stories about, behind the scenes things about stand-up and then get out of there. But some of them is like, you're like an umpire counting people leaving the show.
Yeah. It's not easy,
brutal.
dude. It's not an easy thing to just pretend you can do. Like, and even a guy like Chris Kattan, like he's a performer. Like he was on Saturday Night Live. He's in comedy. And even it's just not like I've watched Fred Armisen stand up and it's brutal. And I'm like, this guy, I think he's so funny. Like he's off the charts funny. But stand-up comedy is a different type of funny. It's like it's writing, it's hypnosis, it's performance. It's like all these different things together. So I don't know. It's like impossible to just fake it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so funny to me too. I was working with Lovitz, and you would think he's one because he started stand-up like 8 years ago or something like that. And it was like, okay, it's going to be one of those, type of weekends. Like I worked with Tim Meadows. I really liked him. Nice guy, but he did the ladies man from someone's phone as his closer. And it's like putting your arms through someone and then talking about your day. It's like that type of act.
It is. It's such a, well, and that's when you go, all right, these guys have no tangible way to make money anymore. It's like, if you're not getting cast in anything, you have no income. So when your agent's like, I can get you 20, 30 grand, but you got to go out on the road on a week and get it. I can see why they say yes, right? The thing that always makes me sad is like, you always see this when anyone who's famous, who's even vaguely funny, on a show or anything, gets like divorced or in trouble with the IRS. It's like, they're you see them the next summer, like doing stand up. Like it always happens. It's like a guarantee when you see, a guy, if he what's his name? Jeremy Piven or like Chris Tucker or
Jeremy Piven's a great example. Jeremy Piven was deemed unworkable as an actor because of sexual assault allegations. And so they were like, let's bring him in a room with some of his with actual people. Let's bring him into a meet and greet with people in stand-up comedy, and that's somehow better.
Someone in Boston kicked him in the dick and ran away. I saw I got to see the footage of it.
That's slapstick comedy.
Yeah, and I was like, well, welcome to Boston, Mr. Piven. Yeah.
That's so funny. What do you call it? Lovitz, though. Lovitz, that's someone you were like, for me, I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, he's a silly dude. It's a good hang. It was a 2-man show. Did a weekend with him. I got to tell you, dude, he blew me the fuck away.
Yeah.
He was so natural and so silly. And he even up front, he goes, listen, if you don't mind, try to be on the cleaner side. Don't do anything political. Don't do anything that's going to be so big. And he goes, I'm not you. I'm not a real, he goes, I can't follow you.
Oh,
so
nice.
I need a little bit of a bump. And for me, I like, as just a purebred stand-up, I so appreciated that. Where I was like, I actually respect someone that's like, I can't do what you guys do on a nightly basis. So please don't make it hard for me because I'm having you on this weekend. I was like, totally. And then he got up.
That's nice.
He got up and I was like, fuck you. This guy is so good.
Yeah. He mind fucked you.
He really did, bro. He got up. I laughed so fucking hard, like genuinely laughed. And I mean, dude, you know this, like for guys like us that are just stand-ups that are, we're getting up nightly and seeing, the same type of shit, it's so hard to get that big genuine laugh of like, oh man, like what a crazy, like a new take on something.
Yeah.
He got up and I was like, I'm angry that he said that ahead of time, because it's like I could have done anything and he could have followed that.
he was just icing the kicker there. He was like, hey, man. He was just guaranteeing himself a little bit. That's a smart move.
100%. What
that goes a long way though when those people are like that. I've opened for plenty of just celebrities,
right?
And the ones that are like that, it makes it so it's basically everyone knows the score. So if they're saying it, it's kind of nice, It's like, now we can all relax. I remember when Bill Burr said that to me. He was like, "Take it easy, Will. I can't follow you." So,
I'm not one of you guys. I'm not one of you.
Yeah. He's like, I've been on The Mandalorian now.
They're kicking people out of the Comedy Cellar. I'm not one of you.
I've had a few I've opened for a lot of the social media flash in the pans, and I've had a few of them be like that, and I've had a few of them be insane people too. So
yeah. I had I tweeted this week, if all these writers something about like if all these writers really want to feel what it's like to work with unfair wages, they should try stand-up comedy. Like all these late night writers that are like, oh, I can't, how can you survive on $100,000 a year? You're like,
no health insurance. Oh my God. It's like, welcome to everyone else in fucking show business.
Will drove past a car with no one in it on fire, just trying to make just trying to come home with some money so his wife doesn't leave him.
Yep.
While I'm on the phone bitching about my pathetic life to him. And someone's like, I can't write this game for this late night show because I have a cold and urgent care won't cover it.
I couldn't agree more. So this is something near and dear to me a little bit too, because when I first got my SAG card, in 2001, there was an actor strike like immediately after, right? So as a 18-year-old, I was like, I just put all this money down for this thing, and like 2 weeks later, it was worthless to me,
Mm-hmm.
So I was in school anyway, so it wasn't like I was going to be doing a lot of acting. And people forget, like, that actor's strike was basically the beginning of reality television. It was like they couldn't make anything without actors, so they had to come up with something. So they came up with Survivor and Temptation Island and American Idol. And then what happened? The strike ends, yada yada. Actors got a few things, but in the meantime, half the work had just disappeared during that strike, right? So then I go to school, I get out of school, I move, I do a couple plays or whatever in New York. I eventually moved to LA in 2004. And in 2004, 2005, there was another writer's strike, right? So there's no writer's strikes. So what did you get during that writer's strike? Well, even more reality TV. And now they were like clip shows and more news content and stuff that didn't have to have writers, right? So then that strike ends and what happens? Everyone comes back. Yeah, they got some deals done, but for the most part, there's not as much work anyway.
Right.
I have a really bad feeling. What do you read about in the paper every single day the past 2 weeks? AI. Oh my God. AI is so good. AI has gotten so fast. AI can come up with anything in 5 seconds. If you don't think AI can write shitty fucking sitcoms as well as a room full of guys making $100,000 a year, you're crazy. It'll be a week before our AI can churn out sitcoms and movies and stuff like that. So
sure.
Worst possible time for these people to go on strike, and I completely predict the same thing will happen again. The one thing I think actors and writers and directors, all of us forget, is that we are not essential. We're not trash collectors. Trash collectors go on strike. If the trash guys were like, we're not picking up trash, the society would start to fall apart.
Definitely.
You know? Piles of trash on every street corner, people getting sick. You'd have no choice but to fucking, go to their demands. Like when an actor or a writer goes on strike, the people, the powers that be, the studios, the channels and stuff, they're just like, all right, I guess we'll have to figure something else out.
Right. I actually get sick when comics perform.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then you just get non-union. There's also no punishment for crossing the picket line. Like if you decided to write a show and someone paid it for you, you could still join the writers union in a year and a half when they come back. You know what I mean? It's I feel like it's flawed. I get that these unions kind of need to exist in some ways to guarantee certain human rights on sets and stuff like that and hours and stuff. But I think these strikes have really done more harm than good 3 times in a row. If you look at the past 20 years, 15 years, each one of these strikes, when they come back, there's less work and less money. So this getting the little bit of extra stuff really ends up being who gives a fuck?
Right. Yeah, they the garbage union did that during COVID to piss off the mayor, who was like, everyone needs to be vaccinated. They just stopped picking up garbage, and within a week it was like the rats overtook New York, and it was like, well, now you need me.
No, it's really, that's when you really, it's like any job, I remember one time I was working for this comedy club, and there was a young assistant manager, and her and the manager had this fight the day on Friday night. They had this big fight. On Saturday night, I'm sitting in there and just getting ready, and she comes in and she had this whole speech from a movie. You know what I mean? I can't believe the way you talk to me, and if you know what, and I'm out of here. I quit. Right. And she turned around and started to walk out, and you could just tell she was waiting for someone to be like, no, stop, don't go, don't quit. But the guy was like, yeah, all right, fuck you, quit. I don't care. I screamed at you yesterday. Why do you think I'm so you're essential to me? You know what I mean? So then she just had to go quit and find another job. And she completely, I talked to her later. She admitted she thought they would beg her to stay, or she thought they would at least argue with her against quitting. And I go, that's what kind of actors and writers strikes end up being. It's us being fine, I won't write you any more TV shows. And they're like, all right, we don't even need TV.
Yeah. It's kind of like threatening to leave your marriage, and then your wife's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You're like, oh fuck, I thought I had some leverage here.
Yeah, exactly. That's the real that's the real point. Is like you gotta know. You better have your fucking. You better know. You have leverage. You can't. Don't go on your ego there. You know, you got to look at the data.
Yeah, yeah. Have you been following any of the Steven Crowder stuff that's been going on?
Really lightly, I have been. You know, like kind of whatever trickles up to me. I don't know though. I feel like my opinion is the wrong opinion. I kind of felt like that's what I thought Steven Crowder arguing with his wife would sound like.
How does that make your opinion wrong?
But no, because a lot of people are like, oh, he's being so abusive to his pregnant wife. I'm like,
you were like, wow, that's nicer than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, I was like, he's being like a pretentious dick to his wife, which is what he is. Like,
right.
Did she think she was marrying Anderson Cooper? No, she married Steven Crowder, the fucking pretentious dick, you know?
Yeah.
Who says things like, I forget what, there was one line he said that I mean, first of all, I'm watching it like, oh my God, if I told my wife, like if I said any of this to my fucking wife, like, you know, she would walk right out the door. I forget what did he say to her?
He said something like the only way out of this is like respect, something like respect and obedience or something like that.
Yeah, obedience or be obedient, be respectful, something like that. Like I was like, my wife would she would just walk out. But I wouldn't say, oh, I abused my wife and then she walked out. I would say I was an asshole and my wife left me because I'm an asshole. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a couple shows pointing out that he was wearing socks with no shoes this whole time. It doesn't get that's the most pretentious. That's like God, that's like the new finance guy. That's like a lacrosse player's move to wear socks and then yell at your wife while you're in gym shorts.
I mean, it is fascinating. I think it was fascinating to see that. I was just like, I can't believe that exists. Like, I mean, you know, there are people out there who are like obviously nuts and like kind of couples die, but no one knows what other couples are like behind closed doors. You know what I mean? And I can't believe there are people out there who are like, be obedient, honey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't believe they didn't see Dave Landau filming from the roof.
It's
incredible.
It'd be cool if like it was like the presidency, like where if Crowder got canceled, Landau just like got everything Crowder has. Like he got this move up one spot. So he's kind of constantly trying to get him on video doing stuff like that.
He's just crawling around trying to find leverage for the don't talk light.
Exactly.
Did you hear about any of that? Did you see his Michael Malice interview?
No.
So we were supposed to have Landau on a while ago. Dave's a good buddy, and I was actually excited to have the three of us on one podcast. I thought that would be.
I was excited.
Yeah, it's just different versions of white comics.
White guy comics. I was gonna say it's kind of like we're like that. Those three Mexican guys from every movie.
It's a Three Amigos tour, but Caucasian. It really is. It's like every middle-aged white guy stage. Like Landau, like living away from his wife and kid for work. Like me in the middle, just buying a house with my wife and kid, and then you just getting married, talking about having kids. It really is. It's like council of dads.
It really is, and like three different haircuts too. I was gonna say we have like 3 different stages of hair.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I was excited to have the same perspective in 3 different ways. Talk about stuff. But then he had to reschedule a lot. I mean, look, Landau's busy too.
Landau has the best career, and that's why he's not here. He's on an airplane.
I've got the worst career, and I'm quitting my own show because of it.
And I can't even afford good internet, apparently. So
you're one of the last 3 guests. Do you feel blessed?
I feel really blessed. I'm glad I snuck it in.
Dave had to reschedule a couple times because of the tour, and then he was like, look, I'm signing a deal, and he was like, let's just wait till after the deal goes through, and then we'll be able to talk about it and it'll be good. And then it was like the next week, like he's got a new show coming out on Blaze called Normal World. It's a sketch show, it's a talk show. It looks really cool. And then what were you gonna say?
Tucker Carlson's gonna need a co-host soon.
I honestly, dude, I really thought he was gonna sign a deal with Fox when he was telling me that there was a deal going through, because he was on Gutfeld a lot, he was on Kennedy, and I'm like, oh man, Landau's gonna sign some big deal, and we're gonna get the inside scoop. And then so he goes to Blaze, and then he's been absent from Crowder since Crowder went to Rumble, and then he went on Michael Malice's podcast, and they break down the whole thing, and they give like the whole inside scoop into why he terminated his contract and why he's not on Crowder and all this shit. And it fucking blew up. It was everywhere. And I was like, you couldn't have done it on the one show that wanted to book you before all of this. You couldn't have just said it. Maybe I wouldn't be leaving my own show, Dave.
You know what though, man? I commend you for leaving your own show, to be honest. Like, I really do. It's I say this about, I've had a few different podcasts, and I have one now, Soft Boys, and I was like a huge proponent of stopping. I was like, let's just stop. Like, we're doing okay, but we're not getting the numbers we really want to get to make this like worth it, and all this stuff. And I think there's so many podcasts now that it's okay to like go, hey, I'm going to scrap this one and do something else, or start another one, or just guest for a while, or something like that. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work getting people together is like a huge fucking pain in the ass. And another thing that I think is sadly true, and I say this to you all the time, is like, it's just the same industry now as the regular industry, the TV and movie industry.
Right.
It's the people with the money and the power are running podcasting now just as much as they run those other things. So it's kind of like the days of even Legion of Skanks level of kind of like climbing through your own popularity and word of mouth is like really hard. It's harder than it's like ever been. You gotta kind of have some support, because I've had a few auditions lately to like host podcasts, for like these big companies. It's like a radio job now,
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, look, like Conan quitting late night to do a podcast at Sirius XM. You're like, what the fuck is it? I loved when he got on the cover of some magazine that was like it was like the top influencers in podcasts, or like the rebels of the podcast world. Yeah. And it was like Conan O'Brien on the front cover of it. And you're like, this is not what podcasting is.
No, it's true. It is now, though. I think it's kind of like when we started podcasting, or when it kind of first came to comedy, it was sort of like Clerks and like the Brothers McMullen and Good Will Hunting and like these smaller movies, right? And now it's like we're making the Avengers. You got Joe Rogan with $200 million. You got I love it when people are like, oh, I love podcasts. My favorite one is the one with Will Arnett and Jason Bateman. I'm like, that's like famous people. Like, you just like that's like a sitcom you like, you know what I mean? And they're still cool. It's cool for us. It's cool for like, I think, it's just that part of that whole thing about what is fame now, what is like notoriety now, what is sort of having fans now. It's like if my sister's food blog, gets 50,000 followers, like, is she more famous than me, or am I like, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
The answer is yes.
So, but not in comedy, not at Skankfest.
I know, man. I don't know what it is. I like this show had a good run. It had a lot of good guests. I was happy with it. And then I took a break, and then I came back, and I was like, doing it live will be fun. It'll add a different element to it. You got the chat, you got people talking shit, you got people joking around, you got people sending in questions for comics, riffing and shit like that. And that'll be a fun element. And then it's like every single week, someone's on an airplane that just caught on fire.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this sucks to do it live in this format, at least. I guess when you're doing it with like what the other guys in this network are doing, makes sense. It's like Shuley, Levy, Mike Morris, and they do different iterations of shows together.
Yeah.
It's not real guest heavy, and it's kind of targeted content, and that makes sense to me. But that just it makes sense of why it's popular to me.
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. That's the key.
I was like, it'll be fun to do this with Will and Dave, and that's what I'm looking forward to, but I don't want to do this show today.
I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. I don't do as many as I used to. I feel like it's gotten to be kind of it's almost like playing pretend when you were a kid. You go over someone's house and pretend to be like fireman or cops and robbers. It's like we get together, we pretend to be Bill Burr and Patrice and Opie and Anthony. Do you know what I mean? That's what I felt. I started to feel like that. So that's the way now I only do it like exactly what you're saying. I was looking forward to this. I was like, I love talking to Kevin. I love hanging out with him. So I was like, that's the kind of thing I want to do. But I also think those make great podcasts when the guys are actually friends and it's not just two people being like, hey, you come on mine, I'll go on yours, and like we'll each get 12 more followers on our on our journey to I don't know what, like hopefully making some money one day.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'm just gonna quit it all.
You quit stand up too?
No, fuck no. But it's different. It's dude, it's weird because it was like podcasting was a side to stand up. It was something to do, I think on the side. Yeah. Hopefully increase the draw a little bit, get some extra eyes in front of you. And I think for a while it worked. And then I think everyone started going at each other. And it's like, I don't know. Like let's actually examine it. Are there actually new people tuning in? Or is it just like one weird, kind of flat circle thing where it's like the same?
That's how it kind of started to be with the, let's call them compound adjacent sort of, or not even just compound, like Riotcast and
right
in Legion of Skanks and stuff. It's like, yeah, it started to feel like you get this huge rush of meeting new people and having new fans for a while, and then it just becomes kind of like you're in this small world shitting on each other and getting sort of poked at or whatever. And I was just thinking it the other day. I was like, sometimes I'm just not in the mood to have a total stranger bust my balls like we're best fucking friends. You know what I mean? Like,
well, this is the wrong venue if you're not into that.
I know, like that's what most of the time it's kind of funny and I'm cool with it, but there are days where I just go, that guy probably thinks I'm a dickhead now because like I just went like and walked in, you know what I mean, or something like that.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to evolve. Like, because right now it's a lot of watching each other's shows, judging things, and like whatever, how many people are viewing what and what's doing this and what's doing that, and it's not even about like a build anymore, or just like a fun thing to do and then push out creative content, or something that you want to do as a funny person, or someone that likes to create shit, right? Yeah. And then put it out. It's like everyone's competing for the same type of thing right now. And I wonder if that's going to eat the whole industry and everything's going to implode into like, people are going to get tired of that type of thing.
I think so.
I genuinely have no idea.
I think you're already seeing like a decline in sort of just the conversational podcast. Like what people really want a lot more of now is informational podcasting, like there's a story behind it. There's a murder that they're talking about or a topic that two people are talking about. So it's sort of a light-hearted information thing I've noticed is kind of big in podcasting right now, which is fair. I mean, someone was just saying like about, Greg Fitzsimmons just hit like 1,000 episodes. And I was like, that was one of the first podcasts I used to listen to. And it was so fun to listen to two comedians like talk, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like 10 years later, 15 years later now, you're like, we've kind of done it to death, like the comedians talking thing.
For sure. That's and that's it. That's like the perfect summation. This show went 3 years of riffing on news stories just to show comics doing what they do off stage.
Yeah.
And I just don't I just don't think it works.
No,
I
it's
think we're done. I think
it's
it
kind
ran
of
its course.
It's one of my big fears for like all of comedy though right now is kind of, you know, like these reels and TikToks are, it's like they're I know and I sound like an old man like yelling at the sky, but it's just they're lowering and lowering and lowering what is funny in those things, you know, like
Yeah.
It's gone from a really clever second or two of material to now it's sort of like, I mean, I saw one the other day where the comedian was like, there's a mirror on stage. I don't like that you guys can see my butt. And it had like 155,000 likes. And it was like, and I go, if this is what people are wanting, are coming to, like, it's going to be impossible to get these people to sit through a 90-minute comedy show like ever again if this is what we're feeding them in our spare time.
What are you people? On dope?
So sometimes I do worry about that. I'm like, comedy is becoming so like unvaluable. It's like we make snacks. We make like little snacks, junk food, and everyone's trying to sell like the new Dorito, you know, and no one's really trying to like make no one's trying to be the next like Gordon Ramsay or anything like that and be like some great chef in the kitchen. Everyone's like, well, like the fact that comedians are proudly calling themselves brands all the time is really weird. Really weird to me.
Yeah, it kind of goes against it, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I've been hearing the word a lot, like with this special coming out. I'm doing a lot of different promo and a lot of and a lot of people I talk to aren't, you know, creative or creative people. They're like producers or like editors and stuff. And they'll say stuff like, "Oh, you must be psyched. Like this is going to be really good for your brand," or "Oh, you should do this interview with this person because if nothing else, it'll be great for your brand." And I'm like, I was like, I don't really like. It almost makes me want to say something like, "I'm not a fucking brand, man." I get what people mean by that. What they're saying is, if your sort of standing in the business goes up, your income will go up, right?
Right.
That's what your brand is. But to me, a brand is something like Pepsi or Coke, and it's like, what do people do to be cool? Like they buy some local root beer and they're like, look at me. I'm like not drinking Pepsi or Coke. I'm drinking like the locally made organic fucking root beer. But so that's like the cooler move. But in the arts, which are supposedly the place where all the cool people are, we're like, no, I'm a brand, man. I'm fucking Coca-Cola. I'm going to be the biggest fucking star and I'll do anything.
Well, you're just fed this thing when you're like young and stand up of like, I like what the bigger picture is or what like quote unquote making it is and all of this nonsense. And then it's like, I have to do everything that all these like big name celebrities did to get to where they are and all this bullshit. And it's like, you just realize after a while that it's like, no, they're doing that because they've got the audience that other companies and brands want to tap into.
Yeah.
And they're offering them a fuckload of money. And you've struggled for 25 years to stand up. And then you're like, yeah, I'll take this endorsement deal with Lululemon because why wouldn't I want an extra $100,000 this week? To make up for the years that I ate McDonald's in a parking lot instead of going in and talking to the other comics on the show.
It's true. It's Sam wants to come on the show. What's up? It's very true, and I don't know. It's weird. You're so right though about the beginnings of stand up and like all the bad advice you get. You know what I mean? When you start doing stand up and that advice is so transient too. It's like in a couple of years that advice is no good anymore.
Right.
And it's so much luck involved, but you're right about the $100,000 too. So many people they don't factor in the amount of money, show business can give you. It's spurts of money. You get these money grabs, you know what I mean? And you have these big checks and you kind of have to get one every few years. And I think people have like a really messed up idea of what comedians make. They either think we make nothing and we're like completely poor, or we're a millionaire, you know?
Right. Yeah, there's no just like affording your mortgage.
Nah, exactly. I teach comedy and I tell them that I'm like, you can do this for a living and not be famous person, it's like you can do this and still, you might not be famous, you might not be as famous as you want to be, but you won't have to like punch a clock and work at a desk job. You'll still be able to like do this. And they look at me like, yeah, that's sad that you think that.
Well, I think there's room for everyone.
Yeah,
I really do. And it's like, I just could not give less of a fuck if you don't agree with this sentiment or what your view of everything of what you think making it in stand-up is. When I started doing stand-up, my goal was to pay my bills doing it. And then you reach that goal and you're like, okay, now I'm not satisfied. Now I'd like to have this for my career. I'd like to have this for my career. And it's a moving goalpost.
yeah.
But it's like, dude, making it is only truly like making it is a series of goals and successes to get to like what you thought your ultimate landing place would be, right? There's never a moment where you walk into a room and confetti falls from a ceiling because you fucking, unless you're Pete Davidson and you walk into the latest vagina and it's like, congrats, you made it to this level where you're banging Emily Ratajkowski. Like, okay, cool. Then Pete Davidson made it. But everyone else, it's these small series of successes until you get to what you want. And it's defined by what you want to do, and it's defined by what you say no to because you don't want to do, and then you head down for whatever your goalpost is. There's room for everyone. You've had look, I tell young comics, I've written for shows like America's Got Talent. I've had a #1 album. I've supported myself on comedy. I've toured the country. I've opened for some great names. I've headlined some great clubs. None of you, like no one's heard my name until this conversation. And that just proves there's room for everything. And some of us don't fucking want that gigantic thing. And the best advice I think I ever got was you're defined as a comic, not by what you say yes to, it's what you say no to. And I'm saying no to this podcast.
I like that.
I'm saying no more.
That is a beautiful woman right there. That's Emily Ratajkowski.
That's it. That's her. And that's it. That's what I'm defining it. I'm saying I don't want to do this.
I like that. I wish that little rant just kept going on. Like you were like, you know what? My dick's all right. It's not the biggest. It's not the smallest. It's good. I have a driver's license.
And so what? My wife makes more money. I don't give a shit as a man. I don't care about any of this. And so what? I want to be a normal guy and just drive a pickup in my fucking wooded cottage that I live in now. Who gives a fuck about any of that?
I'm going to take a nap after this. You know who's not taking a nap this afternoon? Kevin Hart. He's out there doing something.
I just want to be a normal guy with a normal sleep pattern, huh? I don't want to be up all night counting money from everything. So what? I don't get super chats. I don't want to fucking who gives a fuck about any of this?
Love it.
Buddy, you're the best. Listen, obviously, I love talking to you. Judging by our conversations headed into hell together. Pumped for your special. Can't wait to see this. Thanks for coming on for one of the last few episodes just to talk shit and have everyone make fun of what we do here.
I was gonna say it's not over yet. We'll probably end up having our own comedy podcast like in a couple of years called like What Have We Done?
It's going to be me going, I want to be famous and I don't want to live in this house and I want to make more money than my wife. It's going to
I was thinking I was driving back here to do this. I drove through a private school that has like security and I was like, I wonder if the security gets paid. That's got to be a sweet gig, just walking around a private school campus all day. Like you probably don't have to do anything, probably no crime,
Absolutely. Listen, people, Will Noonan on the show. One of the best out there, I promise you. You want to see pure stand-ups, go see Will Noonan live. Where can people find this special when it's out?
It's going to be on YouTube, but it won't be on my YouTube page. It's on this thing called Boston Comedy Studios, which is sort of a new production company. But their channel is up, and they've got some good stuff on there already. But this is their first full-length special. And check on my Instagram, basically. Instagram, Will Noonan, the comedian. There's going to be a lot of clips there and links to all the stuff that you're going to want to see. But I'm very happy with it. I directed it myself. And I think it's pretty good, man. So if it doesn't work, it's one of those things you're like, well, if they hate this, maybe I will get that security guard job at that private school.
Nah, you're in the front lines, man. You'll be out there doing it.
Thanks, bro.
Absolutely. We'll check him out at Will Noonan on his social media. You can check me out at Kevin Dombrowski on all my social media. May is, what are we in May? May's booked up. I got check kevindombrowski.com for all those dates. I'll be updating that. And come on back, not next week, the week after. We're going to take a week off for the last 2 shows of Just Joking, presented by Silk City Hot Sauce on the Shuli Network. No interviews, no arguments, just jokes. Come on back.